20 stores in 10 years, so 2 a year, which is a phenomenal rate of growth. He's done it by many different ways, and he's going to share that story with you. He has also won a Queen's Award for Industry, and interestingly enough, that was for a process. So that's a little bit different. So he's going to share that with you as well. Now, when he starts to speak, you will tell that he's not a Lancashire lad. So you have to sort of guess where he's from. Some people think it's Ireland, some people think it's elsewhere. Anyway, Michael, please take the floor. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is that working? Is that alright? Hi everybody, my name's McDade, as I've just been introduced, and I'm from Communications Plus. I've got loads of stuff to go through. How this actually started was I had a conversation with JD. She does a little bit of work with Burnley Football Club and with our guy who's at the back, Steve Harrison, and she was interested in our story and just thought it sounded good and see if I wanted to come and have a chat with you guys. So hopefully you'll enjoy it, hopefully you'll get something from it. If you don't, then sorry if I've wasted half an hour, 40 minutes of your time, but fingers crossed you'll get something out of it. I'm going to talk a little bit, first of all, about me. In fact, just before I do that, I am recording this, but I'll tell you why at the end, and hopefully it's something you guys can have as well. So, who am I? Hi. As I said, I'm Michael McDade. Well, I'll tell you, I'm from Scotland. I'm not actually from Ireland, but some people do think I'm from Ireland. They get it muddled up. I think I had 3 or 4 members of staff that thought I was from Ireland for about 4.5 years until they plucked up the courage to ask me. So that's a little bit about me. Currently live in Southport. Lived there for 28 years, so quite a long time really. So my accent floats in and out of different variances sometimes, depending on what I'm saying or who I'm speaking to. I love golf. Used to love football before, but got a bad injury and I felt a little bit old. Everyone else seemed younger than me, and it wasn't really working out. So took up golf maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and I do alright. I'm on 15 now. Try and play as much as I possibly can. I think my 2 guys would say more than I should do, but I'm not throwing the golf, by the way. If anyone else is interested, give me a shout later on and we'll see what we can do. I am afraid to tell you that I am a Manchester United supporter. Already I can look around and people on their heads shaking, so I thought that might happen. But yeah, strange I know that I moved from Scotland, live in Southport, which is close to Liverpool, but the first kit my dad bought me was a Man United kit. I had no choice, I was 6, so I'm stuck with it. I enjoy it. I've got the match, I've just started taking my little boy. So I am married. I have a wife, I have 3 children. Logan, who's the eldest, who's 5. Brooke, she is now 4. And Paige is 9 months and 3 days. So I'm obviously busy outside of work, as well as trying to run a company that's got 240 members of staff. So trying to get the balance is quite tough. This side tends to win more. Not the top one. Family for me is obviously really important. And I think that's something that we've bred into our business. It's about family, and from when I joined Comms Plus, which I will go into in more detail in a second, we did only have 1 store, so I've grown as the business has grown, so as a family that's sort of what we've got included in that. So, I am young-ish, I'm 34, I have had many a job. I couldn't put them all on there because bars, restaurants and different things, and you know, they don't mean anything to anybody, so I just tried to pick out some companies that I've worked for. Started with Comms Plus when I was 24, so from the age of that, well, whenever I can remember, I had 3 paper rounds at once. I had 2 baskets on the back, and Stephen, who works for us, the other Stephen, is my cousin, and he would verify this, but I had a bit of a crappy bike with 2 baskets on the back, 1 on the front, and I'd have 3 paper rounds in the morning. I'd play football 3 times a week. I'd be going to school, and I'd carried that on as long as I possibly could do. So within work, it was always something I found that I enjoyed doing and trying to earn myself a little bit of money, but trying to keep up with sports and make sure that I had a lot of activities going on. So I think one of my biggest strengths, of which my MD would say, and he would like to be able to be able to go somewhere else, is that I can spin many plates at once. You can just keep throwing stuff at me, and I can handle it. It's just one of my strengths, and I do believe that's where it sort of come from when I was so young. So you can see on there I've had many a different job. Toby Carberry, that's the Royal Clifton. in Southport, and I actually only lasted 2 nights in there because he wanted me to do night shifts, and I was scared of the dark. Not so much now because I've got kids, but having to go under all the tunnels and everything wasn't really for me. And then Warburton's was a very short stint in the middle of my Phones for You in 02. McDonald's, Crunch Fried Chicken, I was a chef runner when I was 15, and I was working in Southport on Lord Street till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning with all the piss heads coming in on a Friday and Saturdays, which was a learning experience. But the biggest ones for me really, and where I really found myself, was in sales, Phones for You, then on to 02, before I actually moved on to working for Comms Plus. So that brings me to Comms Plus. So when I was at 02, I was seen as the golden child. Couldn't do anything wrong. I think I just grafted and done everything I could do. I was seconded in numerous managers' positions, and I just couldn't quite get my own shop. And when I did, it was taken away from me because I was told that pass the interview, but hold back because you did really well. We'll give you a bigger shop next week. The bigger shop came up and they gave it to somebody else, and then I asked for their shop and they'd given that to somebody else as well. So, as is life, what can you do? So I lost a little bit of interest and I got headhunted, and it was by 3, and that's a different story, but I was going to 3, and I think I had 3 days left, 2 days left within 02, and I got a phone call from my old manager saying, I've just had a chat with this guy, he's a really nice fella, he's asked me, but I'm doing alright in my role, so I've given you a number. So, get a phone call from a gentleman called Steve Roberts. I spoke to him on the Thursday, the Friday, the Saturday, the Sunday, and his story is he still didn't know if I was going to turn up on Monday morning. So luckily for me and for him and for our business, I did. And as I said before, we had one shop when I started. It was 6 months old, and that was Bolton Middlebrook. We now have 20 stores. We have an external team, or a head office, which has 3 external teams. And as I said before, it's 240 members of staff we currently have now. So for me, it was just about grafting as much as I possibly could do. When I had the option for going to 3, it was in Southport where I lived, manager's shop on my doorstep. This challenge was to go to Meadowbrook, which was 37 miles away from my house. But the vision was actually to go to open up our second store, which was going to be Cheshire Oaks, or Coliseum Retail Park. So that was 66 miles from my house. So to have an option to go and stand on my doorstep to actually take a bit of a different challenge was something that really appealed to me. And the vision that was sold to me for having 5 stores was what pulled me in a little bit more. The next thing I'm going to show you is a little bit different. It was our 10th year anniversary in November that we've just had, and I wanted to tell a story I've learned from my boss and so on and so forth, but the best way that I could do it was to put it all together in a video. So there'll be a couple of references that you'll go, that doesn't make any sense because it's not for here, as in, I hope you enjoy this evening, everybody, because it's not tonight. I'm sorry there's no party for anybody after, but this will tell you pretty much everything there is that you need to know for the last 10 years of Comms Plus. So please enjoy this.
Communications Plus did not start when our first store Meadowbrook opened in November 2006. Steve didn't even know this, but the values, behaviours and components we have today started in the wholesale fruit and veg market in Liverpool. Steve's dad's business was in the market, and when he was 14, he began his experience at the sharp end of the commercial world, working there during the school holidays. The market was to form the basis for the future. Getting up early, starting work at 4 o'clock in the morning, working and communicating with all levels of people, from the stereotypical Scouse barra boy to highly successful business people. He was later to describe customers in the same way. Either Jimmy from the Demi or Bill Prickly at QC. You always need to be able to communicate and build rapport. Then came Steve's big first commercial lesson. He was around 20 at the time. Aldi and Asda were advertising bananas at 19 pence per pound. Steve was selling them for 20 pence a pound, and they were the biggest independent wholesale bananas in the whole of Europe. Now the supermarkets were making it really, really tough for the people in the market. A lot of these businesses actually closed down. However, the fruit market still exists today. These traders that were prepared to fight, go the extra mile, work harder and smarter than the rest, are still trading one way or another. They didn't stand still and become a victim. They made things happen and changed the outcome. More than half of the market is now closed because of everything from the supermarkets to the economy. Anything rather than actually doing something different and changing that very disappointing outcome. This is what we call the valley of excuses. Encouraged by his dad, Steve's next stop is sunny California. There he had a job selling carpet and hardwood floor at Carpets Plus. Many of you will have heard about the world famous Cindy McLeod. Cindy was Steve's boss. She was structured in everything that she did. Steve took a massive lesson from her. She worked by a 10-stage sales process, and because he thought she was fantastic, he bought into this process. She looked after him and taught him a great deal. She gave him structure, confidence and belief. In 1994, Steve decided after being in Southern California, he was coming home. This was over 20 years ago now. He got his second proper job and he was working for a gentleman called Mike McCall at Lenton & McCall Communications, soon to become the mobile phone store. Mike had 2 shops when Steve started, and he sold his 129 shops some 6 or 7 years later for a total of over £50 million. Steve quickly adapted his 10-stage sales structure into the mobile industry. He was very quickly managing his own team of staff, just as Cindy had managed him. He was then assessing stores and making recommendations regarding acquisition, interviewing and team building all over the country. And somewhere in between all of this, he met his lovely wife Lisa. Lisa became pregnant with Max, and he was born on the 10th of January 2000. All was great. He then learned his next lesson. In 2000, the mobile phone store was sold to Cellnet. Steve was now working in the corporate environment. Cellnet had acquired MPS, DX, Martin Doors and the BT stores. The work was now about integrating these 4 different brands into one business. As part of the restructure, redundancies would have to be made, so the next thing is applying for his own job. Good enough, he got what he considered was the best possible outcome. His own area, Liverpool, Manchester and Lancashire. Stores like the Trafford Centre, Preston and Liverpool Central Station were now part of his area. Then, on the 2nd of the 2nd, 2002, came the launch of O2. Steve's sales structure had caught the eye of the senior management, and as part of the launch, he was put on a project to spread the word. O2 would use a sales structure across 500 stores. The structure is still used by us today. Energize. In 2005, Steve had just completed his secondment role running Central London. Then came the next big step. O2 franchise. Franchise was still in its planning stage when he was asked to join the team to actually sell the franchise concept. Steve attended the training and swiftly told his line manager that he thought he would like to open a franchise store. He was told that he'd have to leave O2 and set up his own company. O2's target was to recruit 5 franchisees. Steve recruited the first 4 by himself. He quickly realised that he was now telling other people how to run their stores and ultimately make money. He knew that he could use everything that he had learned in the fruit market, California, MPS and the corporate world, and he could open up his own store. Steve's strategy would be that he would recruit the best people, put them in the best possible locations, then do their jobs better than anyone else's and work harder than everybody else. We could not fail. He already had the sales structure, and now it was about having the discipline to be the best. The core strength of our business is structure and discipline, with our culture being disciplined. We are disciplined in everything that we do. Our essence of discipline is consistency, routine and habitual behaviours, with our definition of discipline being routine things routinely and exceptional things exceptionally. We get paid our basic wage for doing the routine, and we get our bonuses for doing the exceptional. Exceptional is measured by sales and mainly customer experience. In 2006, Communications Plus Ltd was born. The actual date was November the 23rd. The first store was Meadowbrook Retail Park. This is the reason why this time of year is when we celebrate our end of year party. Not only was it when our first store opened, but also it was the birth of Communications Plus. So this evening is also a celebration for Meadowbrook's 10-year anniversary. Within 6 months, Communications Plus was in a position where it was ready to grow. It was time for reinforcements. Michael McDade was brought in to be trained up and to be ready to open the second store, Coliseum at Cheshire Oaks. The vision was sold to Michael to get to 5 stores and be the best franchise in the world. In 2008, we were ready for the next 2 instalments. We welcomed both Aintree and Eagles Meadow. We were then only 1 store away from the vision of 5. We took an approach that we'd never taken before, and Steve bought out another franchisee, which gave us our 5th store in St Anne's. The vision was achieved. In the same year, we moved from our little office in Steve's house to Alpine House in Rainford. We were growing. Using all the learnings from when we had taken over St Anne's, we were ready for our next store, which came in 2011, and that was the Penrith store. 2012 was a huge year for Communications Plus. We were ready for a biggest step we had taken to date. We had an opportunity to open 4 brand new stores. This was O2's direction for new acquisition. So we opened Chester Broughton and Ellesmere Port Arcades. These 2 felt a little bit easier due to the fact that they were already within our group of stores. However, we opened up 2 other stores which were right out of our comfort zone over in the northeast, Bishop Auckland and Redcar. This may have been tough, but if anyone was going to do it, it was us. We had now doubled the vision. We had 10 awesome stores. We had always been looking for other locations to find out what the next move was, to find out how to grow the business more than we already had done. The next opportunity came in 2013 when O2 decided that we're going to do the film programme. O2 made the decision that we're going to franchise off 86 of their current stores. Within the process, we acquired 6 more stores. Bangor, Chorley, Kendal, Wrexham Hope Street, Accrington and Burnley. We were now up to 16 stores. In 2014, stores had gone quiet. However, our external teams hadn't. We've been going from strength to strength and growing these external teams. Our SMB team, our CRM team and our open team had grown massively. We had now outgrown Alpine House. Over the 12 months, there was something going on in the background. We had purchased a Methodist church and we converted it into what is known today as Comms House, the O2 Business Centre, Rainford. If there were to be no more stores, then this was to be where we were going to conquer the world. Within 2014 and 2015, we invested heavily within our teams. That's from our part-timers right up to our senior team. We also won many awards along the way. Over 2015 and 2016, we were very, very unsure about what was happening. We couldn't move any further with new stores. We were waiting for O2 to tell us what the next step was. Hutchinson were looking at taking over O2 and buying them from Telefonica. However, in Q2 2016, the news broke that the deal was not going through. But in true Comms Plus style, we don't stand still. The conversations began. It was time for us to acquire some new stores. So first up was Oswestry. We bought this from a franchisee who only had 1 store. We were then looking at the next 3. We bought these from NS Connections. That was Ormskirk, Bootle and Lee. This then gave us a nice round number of 20 stores. Over the past 10 years, we couldn't have done this without some unbelievable staff. I'd just like to name a few. Nazir Khan, Gareth Johnson, Anthony Cuso, Danny Dugan, Phil Horan, Mark Heslop, Nick Buck, Emily Tidbury, Rebecca Louise, Jennifer Case, Stacey Baldwin, Stevie Gray, Mike Rouse, and many, many more. I'd love to see every single person's name in this room, but we'd be here all night. But thank you very much to everybody. Without you, this journey would not have been possible. Over the past 10 years, Communications Plus have also given a lot back. We have sponsored so many charity events, we've donated so much to charities, we got all the staff together to actually raise money. Just to name a few, we have got Rainford Rangers FC, Rainford Cricket Club, North West Air Ambulance, Zoe's Place in the Monday Club, Search for Santa for underprivileged children. We raised over £8,000 in the first quarter of 2016 for NSPCC. We had 21 amazing individuals from our business that did a sponsored skydive, and one of our biggest chosen charities is the Marina Dalglish Group. In 2014, we decided to put 5 chosen individuals through the I2I Train the Trainer. This played a big part in us achieving our Investors in People. First time around, within 3 months, we received Investors in People Gold, which is very, very unheard of. We actually received that award in 2015. 2015 was a massive year for Communications Plus. We were recognised as one of 1,000 companies to inspire Britain. We then went to the O210 Awards in November and we won an O2 Franchise Choice Award, O2 Franchise Customer Award, and the biggest one was O2 Franchise of the Decade, going from 2005 to 2015. We were now recognised as being the best in the business over the longest period of time. In the background in 2015, we were actually working on something else. We've been approached and we've been asked to put in an application for a Queen's Award. This was around the middle of the year. We were told that we would find out if we'd made the next stage in September, and then if we were successful, then the following year in April, we would actually find out if we'd got the award. In April 2016, we were then awarded the Queen's Award in Enterprise for Innovation. We were also told that no one had ever won this award for our method. This fantastic sales structure that we had talked about at the beginning, Energize, had now been recognised as being something that is absolutely fantastic and unique. Everything else that we have just spoken about also could not have been done if it hadn't been for this sales structure. This has helped us in everything that we do within our business. If we don't get it right with our customers, none of this can happen. The little extra thing that comes with this award is that Steve and Lisa went to meet the Queen at Buckingham Palace. I think that's Comms Plus in a nutshell. Back to you, Michael, in the studio.
I hope you enjoyed that. I know it was a little bit long-winded, but if you can imagine, we've got 240 people in a massive room. Everyone's sat in their own shops, so when the names of the stores come up, everyone gives a big cheer. So the atmosphere was incredible, really. And it's something that we do every year. We get everyone together to celebrate how hard we've worked, because we're quite tough on our guys. You know, with us targets there at the end of the day, and we've got stuff that we have to achieve, and to maintain being, if it's franchise of the year, if it's franchise of the decade, whatever that is, we know that we need to graft out and put pressure on people to get it right and to maintain those. I think Sir Alex Ferguson once said after he beat Chelsea in the Champions League final, got on the coach, and the first thing he said to everybody, right, stop celebrating, how are we going to do this next year? So that was on the coach. So it's always about how can you go again, what can we do again? Yeah, brilliant, fantastic, let's celebrate it, but what can we do next? So that's what we've always tried to do. I know that people aren't going to be able to read this, that's fine, because it's actually more just about some checkpoints and some key areas that we've found across the 10 years that we've actually gone through. So the first one is about the model. So when we opened Meadowbrook, it was about getting that right, making sure that everything that we did, whether that was the staffing, whether that was the type of paint we used, the flooring that we used, the back of house, making sure that everything was as good as it possibly could be. And then we had to maintain that and get it right, so that when we moved on to our second shop, which we call Coliseum, that we just maintained these standards that we had. We've mentioned quite a lot about structure and discipline. I think we believed that if you cut us in half, I think we'd be like Blackpool Rock, and it would say structure and discipline as well as Comms Plus probably through the middle. But structure is about, you know, the energize that we have, knowing it inside out, so that if you get a curveball from a customer, that you still understand it and you can always get yourself back in, but being disciplined to be able to do that as well. Ours was always with discipline. It's about getting up in the morning, making sure your clothes are right, brush your teeth, make sure your hair's right. But then Steve was on holiday and he read a little book from a well-known person, Mr. Sir Richard Branson, that actually said within his business, what a lot of people didn't know was that they had discipline within theirs as well. But how he defined it was his discipline was routine things routinely and exceptional things exceptionally. And he used an airplane pilot, the example of when the pilot landed it on the Hudson River. So they go through the routine things all the time, but the exceptions when something happens and you've just got to think outside the box and do something a little bit different. So we've nicked that from him and we use that as well, because it sounds a little bit better than what it was used to be. So it's about getting the model right. And when I came in, I've been with O2 for a couple of years, and it was about me taking this on board as well. When we recruited the guys for Coliseum, I used to drive from Southport to Cheshire Oaks, pick up the team, because we had a van, drive them back to Meadowbrook, train them all day, and then drive them back, and then I'd drive back to Southport, and that's what I did for about 2.5 months to make sure these guys were right. Believe it or not, we got it wrong, because in the end we've actually only got one of those staff left, and when we opened Coliseum after a period of time, I don't know whether it was they got in their own environment, they were closer to home, it was their shop, we ended up getting rid of every single one of them. Next time round, we got rid of the next 2 or 3. So we knew what we wanted and we knew how we needed to get it right, but it took a little bit longer. So that's me driving from Southport, doing 9/8 because it's a retail park, so until 8 o'clock. 1 day off a week because me and Steve just tried to take that in tons. But it was hard work, but we knew what we needed to do, and that just set us up for every other shop moving forward. Then we started bringing in more people, I guess local, people that we knew when we got Aintree, because it was closer to where I had been working before and where Steve worked before, so we knew a couple of people that we could lean on and bring them in and then start building teams around them. So it was about getting that right. The next one is when we got our milestones, when we got to the 5 shops. So we knew we were going to exceed that as we were getting closer to that. We were winning awards. We'd won Franchise of the Year on 2 separate occasions. So we knew we were doing something right. O2 knew we were doing something right, but it was just about finding the next location. And when we did get to 5, as I mentioned in the video, this was a little bit different. We'd always opened a new shop and got a new team and started from scratch, but we bought a franchise store, so it had existing staff. And off the top of my head, I think St Anne's had done, so I think it was 13 new connections in a month, the previous month, and we did 11 on the first day. So we kept their staff, but we put in 2 of ours. And we're not hard sellers, we just have a structure that we can use. We know how to speak to customers, we know when to have pressure points and not have pressure points and so on and so forth. So it was about turning these guys around. I think there's maybe 2, but I don't think there's any of them left now, but there was 2 left up until maybe 18 months ago where they've just moved on to do something else. So we do always look at trying to keep the existing staff if they can get on board with what we're actually doing, which I'll tell you a little bit more about as we get further on. So the next one, the vision was doubled. The difference here was, because we had to go to the northeast with 2 of those, we didn't know the area, we don't know the people, we didn't know where it was like, so we used a recruitment company to do this. So that was brand new for us, so we had to sell them our vision so they knew exactly what they were looking for, and they'd come in and interview our staff to find out what they believed Comms Plus was, so that they could then go back and find the right people for us. And it actually worked out really, really well. It went smooth as it possibly could have done to have stores that are on, you know, we've got one on the coast here at St Anne's, and then we have one on the other coast in the northeast. It was tough to get there, but the guys that we had in place were fantastic, and that was because, again, we took a different view of it, and we went to a recruitment company. So we couldn't stand still on what we believed in. We still had to make a small change and do something a little bit different. So we did keep our values and everything still intact and as tight as we possibly could do, but we did have to do things a little bit different. Now this was one of our biggest challenges that we foreseen, was when we took 6 stores from O2 that were company owned. They've been established for Wrexham Hope Street, for example, have been established for 15 years, maybe a little bit longer. Before it was O2, when it was, you know, different company, I think it was the Link before that as well. So the manager that was in there had been there for a long time. He was actually one of my senior branch managers when I worked for O2 before. And the relationship between company owned and franchise was not good. It was always he said, she said, or they can do this and we can't do this, and there's just horror stories all over the place internally within O2 and franchise. And when they found out, as in these 86 stores with O2, when they found out they were going to get sold to franchise, first of all, nobody knew who was going initially. Then when they found out who the shops were, it was 12 months of uncertainty before they knew who the franchisee was going to be. So all of this was being built up within these staff across these 6 stores that we were going to get. And what we did different was we used I2I the year before, and I think a few of you have heard of I2I. I think Michael Finnegan's been and spoken at one of these before. And we used I2I, we bumped into him, something like this, so on speak, and we used them and we done it for our senior team, and we done the 3-day I2I course that they do. We thought it was fantastic, and then we went back to Michael and said, right, this is where we're up to. We need you to help us bottle everything up that we've got, so that when we go to these 6 stores, they love us. They think we're great. That it's not just a flash in the pan, or they've heard good things about us, that they can actually see how great we are. So that went on for a long period of time to get it right, and then once we had it right, we then built up some slides, a meeting, and we had 3 meetings with the guys before they actually came on board, which no other franchisee did. So the interaction and getting them involved with us was totally different from what anyone else does, and there was actually an off-the-record e-response that O2 did, and we came out at 98.7% satisfaction from the guys moving over. We had the highest satisfaction as well. So we knew what we'd done was right. Now what we wanted to do within this year was get all these guys on board with our eye-to-eye, because it works very well with the culture that we already have within our business. You know, trying to be as positive as you can be, making sure your mindset's right, making sure your staff are ready to serve customers. And eye-to-eye really complemented what we did. So we then rerun eye-to-eye again for these new guys and anyone else that had been promoted into the business. But then what we found was that was great for the people that had been on it. But at this point, we had another 150 staff behind us that hadn't been on this course. And we have a conference call every single day, apart from a Sunday, which we've actually just changed recently. But at that point, every single day, 6 days a week, we had a conference call. On a Monday, we get every store together, and then from Tuesday to Saturday, it's split into 2 areas. So for all the senior people that had gone through the eye-to-eye, if we wanted to have a conversation around, I don't know, dendrites or going from A to B to C, and these little techniques that we learned, it was wasted. So then we spoke to Michael Finnegan again and said, right, what can we do? So, as we mentioned on there, we ended up, we had 5 people go through the eye-to-eye, which took 8 months of training to be eye-to-eye accredited, so that we could then deliver the same course over 3 days. So we delivered it to 150 staff within our business, and we continue to do that today. So when we we get to maybe 10 new members of staff, then we'll rearrange a new one. We also have one-day refreshers every year that everybody goes on as well, just to keep it alive as much as we possibly can. So we're always looking for something extra that we can add, but we want to maintain what we're currently doing as well. And I think that for us, that's key. You know, you've got to be structured and maintain what you do. Yeah, we've got a structure that's won us a fantastic award, but if any of you guys have got one, and we say this to O2, because O2 changed their structure, since in the last 10 years they probably have 4 different sales structures, and it just doesn't work. Get one and get bloody good at it. That's what we always tell them. Just get one and get bloody good at it. It doesn't matter if others have won an award, because at this point I hadn't won an award. You've got to stick to it, and your staff have to understand it, and that's what our guys have done. They've bought into it. So to add these little bits on, but keep our core values, has worked very, very well. I was lucky enough as well. It wasn't my choice. I didn't just go, well, I'm charged, so I'm going to be an eye-to-eye trainer. We had to go through quite a bit with eye-to-eye, first of all, for people to be chosen, interviews and all sorts after you put your name forward. So I was one of the lucky ones that got to do it. So for the eye-to-eye training, which is pretty cool as well. So something else we've given to 5 of our staff. And then transparency and consistency. This is actually where we managed to get our eye-to-eye into everything. I've just jumped ahead slightly there, but they link in with the same thing. So after we were fully trained, it was then about getting all of our staff in. So it's from 2014 and onwards that we've got every member of staff through. We might only have a handful of people currently that aren't on it. So pretty good. Massive investment as well, by the way. Huge. Anyone that has used eye-to-eye before, imagine doing a trainer when you know you're going to do 150 people. It's quite expensive. Now, a massive year for us was last year. So not only did we get 4 new shops, which gave us an extra 25% on what we actually had on our retail stores, but this was the year that we won our Queen's Award. And I will flip back to that in a second, but the Queen's Award actually wouldn't have come if it wasn't for this one. And I don't know if anyone's ever had a 1,000 companies or been involved in that. We had nothing to do with this. We literally got a letter through one day with the books saying, congratulations, you have entered this. It's based on growth in the last 3 years. It's not just about profit, it's about growth and about sustainability. So it was a pretty decent thing for us to get, just as I said, come through the post. From there, you get many phone calls. Do you want to sell your business? Can we get involved in your business? Do you want to buy our business? Do you want to come and train us? Can we come and train you? Just all sorts of things. But one of the things that did stand out was the Queen's Award. And when we looked into it and Googled it, we thought, wow, do you know what? That's incredible. It's something that we could look at. So that process went from around the July, I think, then it was the September, as I said in the video, that we found that we got through to the next stage. But that was, I don't know, 30, 40 different Skype conversations with somebody who was building our application form for us. So she had to understand our business, find out everything that we had done across all of this, when we integrated the different stores at different times, and to understand Energize itself. So we had to change Energize so that it became universal. So just so that you know, Energize is an acronym. So enthusiastic welcome, need to know more, emerging technology, and so on and so forth. So we go through them. So that's the sales structure that we have. So when we switch this off, or is that annoying anybody? No, it's all right. Just me then. Yeah, so it was about understanding that, our structure, our discipline, and finding out how that we could use it. So, as I said, you can have an enthusiastic welcome in Costa, for example. So, good afternoon, welcome to Costa. Yeah, need to know more. Is it for yourself? What is it you want? So they ask you questions, what coffees do you want, etc. Their emerging technology is actually about special beans. Do you want to go for the special roast? Do you want to try this? Do you want to do that? Let me tell you a little bit about it. So that's their emerging technology. And then it just goes through the same process as any structure. So you've got to invite the purchase. So do you want to have that McDonald's? Do you want to go large? I know they can't say that anymore. But that's what, that's what it's all about. Everyone has these structures. And it's just about understanding it. So when they understood it and they found it was actually more, it was about just being structured and everything we did, whether that was our rotas, whether that was where we stand in the shop, whether that was our body language, anything at all. That's how we won this award, which is incredible to win a Queen's Award for innovation. And as I said before, Steve, in the video, Steve got to go meet the Queen as well, which is a little added incentive. But we had this big Range Rover turn up at our head office with the British flags on the front, and the Lord's Left Lieutenant and all sorts came in, and Mom and everything. It was just all, and this guy then gets out this big scroll and he's like, on the 4th day of the 5th month of the, and it was like really, really special. And that's when you realise, wow, this is something that's really, really, really impressive. And to us, we're just doing our job. That's the same with the Queen's Award. We just do our job. We don't think of all of these things at the time. We've just stumbled across, as I said, the 1,000 companies, which then led on to that. Investors in People was something that other franchisees were looking at doing within O2. Some had got bronze, some were working on silver. And we were like, well, let's give it a go, let's see what we can do. I don't know if anyone's been through it, but they interview quite a bit of your company. So whether that's North East, whether that's Bangor and Wales, wherever it is, they'll take a sample of your staff and they go and speak to them. And there or thereabouts, every member of staff was saying the same things. We're structured, we're disciplined, we don't take no for an answer, we give up the right to have a bad day. All of these mantras that we sort of have within our business, everyone was sort of reading from the same sheet. So that really helped us. The only thing they told us in the end when they came back was, you could do some questionnaires. Alright, wow. They were impressed with the fact of what we'd done with the 6 stores that came from O2 and how we'd gone about our business that way. So to get gold first time as well was pretty cool. And again, to us, we're just doing our job. We just had everything available. We had, different presentations and things. We talked about this with these, and we've done this with them, and done this, and they were just like, freaking hell, that's pretty cool. So again, just for us, it was just what we did. So that's why when I was asked to come and do this, I was still like, we're just a business from down the road that does sales phones. But there was actually quite a bit more involved in it than that. And I did just remember, on the Queen's Award, we were told, as again said in the video, that it's the first time anyone's ever won it for a method. It's normally software, a program, that actually wins a Queen's Award. So to be told that as well was pretty cool. The woman that wrote the application for us afterwards said, I was really rooting for you guys because no one had ever won it for a method before. So I just thought it was something that'd be cool if you had got it, and congratulations. She now uses that on her website and all sorts, that she's worked with the company that did it. But that's cool. Internal awards, Franchise of the Decade, Franchise of the Year. We feel that they just didn't want to do it anymore because they were sick of giving it to us. You could almost hear the groans in the room when it was like, in Communications Plus. You're like, yes, oh crap. Because people were just looking at you. So then Franchise Customer Award, we've had finals of the BFA, and we've done loads of other things, but these were just some stuff that we've got on there just to let you know. Now this is something that, this is probably the last section I'm going to do, and this is more something I do want to give back to you. I've nicked little bits from speakers that I've seen, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's I've been to conferences or whatever, and I've seen little bits and tried to use some I2I stuff and build something together. And at the beginning of this year, on the back of a video I'm going to show you in a second from O2, I put together a 10 and about how you are as an individual, and it's just about making sure that you're top of your game. So I'll go through that with you. But I'm guessing every single person in here deals with customers, whether that's over the phone, face to face, whether that's each other, whether that's your staff, because they're still your customers, they are a customer of your business, so you will all deal with them. And whether that is on a scale of, I don't know, staff-wise you've got 1 or you've got 250, you've still got those interactions, and it's always about a fingerprint within that conversation about how you are being presented and how you are leaving that conversation when you go. So I'm going to show you this little bit from O2, and hopefully it's still relevant to you guys, even though it's an in-house video, but it should be. So have a little watch of this.
This is a blue chair. That's right, just an ordinary chair that's blue. But what if every time you saw it, you imagined one of our 25 million customers was sat in it? Who would they be? It could be the super excited mobile gamer, can't wait to get out and for monsters. Or the fresh-faced exec, working from home on a killer presentation. It could be the dedicated cab driver, who relies on our network to find her next fare. Or the apprehensive student, nervously waiting to share his exam results with all his mates. It could be a busy nurse, preparing to see over 30 patients in a day.